Okay, let's dive into this. We see it in the headlines all the time, right? Governments selling off these huge state-owned companies. It's called privatization. But have you ever really stopped to think about the pattern? I mean, why would they sell a national airline but not, say, the power grid? It's definitely not random. There's this really fascinating logic hiding just beneath the surface.
No, seriously, just think about that for a second. Why would a government be so eager to sell off a national symbol, something like an airline, but then hold on for dear life to the company that provides your gas or electricity? Well, that is the exact puzzle we're going to solve today. There's a hidden framework here, and trust me, once you see it, the whole government strategy just clicks into place. It makes perfect sense.
All right, so to really get to the why, we've got to start by changing how we think about a state-owned enterprise, or an SOE. You see, it's not just a business that the government happens to own. Nope, its real job, its true purpose, is actually way more fundamental to how a country is run.
So here's the absolute key. An SOE is basically a tool. Yep, a tool. Think of it like a pipeline that the government uses to move resources. We're talking money, jobs, services, to exactly the people it wants to get exactly the results it wants. So you got to stop thinking of it as just a company. It's really a strategic instrument of the state.
And when we say resources, we are talking about a massive amount. To give you a sense of scale, the government is pushing something like 1.5 trillion rupees through these channels. I mean, that is just a staggering amount of money. It's enough to fund huge national projects over and over again. It really just shows you how critical these companies are to the government's entire economic and social game plan.
So you might be wondering, how exactly does that 1.5 trillion get moved around? Well, it happens in a few ways. You've got your direct financial lifelines, like subsidies and loans, but it's also more subtle. See, some of these SOEs are super profitable, and the government can basically tell those profits where to go to support other goals. This can sometimes lead to bigger problems, like something called circular debt, which is basically this messy chain reaction where one unpaid bill in the energy sector starts a whole cascade of defaults. It's all part of this really complex system of moving resources.
Okay, so if these SOEs are tools, it makes sense that not all tools are equally important, right? Some are like, I don't know, a tiny specialized screwdriver for one specific job, while others are like the entire foundation of the building. And that difference creates a really clear hierarchy of significance.
And here it is, the key that unlocks this whole puzzle. The single most important thing that determines how important an SOE is its reach. That's it. It's that simple. How many people does it touch? How wide is its footprint across the country?
So let's look at the two ends of that spectrum. On one side, you've got companies whose main job is really just providing employment, maybe for a few thousand people. Strategically, their scope is pretty limited. But then, on the other side, you have the giants. We're talking about the utility companies, the ones providing gas and electricity to literally millions of people. Their reach is enormous, which makes them absolutely essential tools for the government to influence the lives of almost everyone.
This whole reach concept basically builds a clear three-level hierarchy. Think of it like a ladder. On the bottom rung, you've got your low-reach companies. Their main purpose is often just providing jobs. In the middle, you have the resource generators. Think big oil and gas companies. They're super important for sure, but they don't really interact with you and me every day. And then, right at the top, that's where you find the public utilities. These guys are in every single home, touching the lives of pretty much every citizen.
Okay, so we've got our framework now. Let's take this hierarchy and use it to solve our original puzzle, Pakistan International Airlines, or PIA. Let's figure out where exactly it fits into this picture.
All right, to get some perspective here, let's start with the big number. The total number of people working across all of Pakistan's state-owned companies is about 344,000, okay? Just kind of lock that number in your head for a second.
Now let's compare that to PIA. At the time we're talking about, it employed around 8,000 people. That's just a little over 2% of the entire SOE workforce. You can see the difference in scale immediately, right? As an employer, its direct reach is just this tiny little fraction of the whole system.
So when you look at it from the government strategic point of view, PIA's main job falls right into that box of offering jobs to a limited group. And according to our hierarchy, that puts it firmly in the low significance category. All of a sudden, the decision to sell it off isn't just a random choice, it's the most logical move you can make. It's the easiest piece to take off the board because its reach is so small.
Okay, so if selling off PIA was the logical first move, what does that tell us about what's coming next? Who or what kind of company is next in line for privatization?
This lays out the government's playbook perfectly. For a low-reach company like PIA, the model is simple, a full sale. But for those high-reach giants, the electricity discos and the gas companies, the SUIs, a full sale is just not going to happen.
They are way too important as tools to move resources around. And it's pretty much the same story for the medium reach guys like OGDC, the resource generators. The most the government has ever done with them is list a few shares on the stock market. But they always keep control.
So what this all really means is that the government isn't just going to wake up one day and sell off a major power company. The path of least resistance, the one that makes the most strategic sense, is to find the next company that looks a lot like PIA, one with a limited scope that serves a pretty small audience. The pattern is basically set. So, let's end on this. You now have the framework. You understand this whole hierarchy of reach, from the bottom to the top. So if you were to look at the list of all the state-owned companies, which ones do you think is next? Which one fits that low significance profile and is probably next up for sale? The answer, really, is hiding right there in the logic we just walked through.